Hey guys, it's Faith. The project that I chose to cover for my presentation is the programming playlist assignment because I really liked the topic I did, and I think that the format with the Adobe Spark project that I did really works best for a presentation kind of thing, and I like the pictures I used and stuff like that, so I thought that I would show that off. So my title is Artificial Intelligence, Reality or Sci-Fi Fantasy, and I'm not going to read through all of this because there's absolutely no need, but just a little about why I chose AI is because I think it's very relevant in today's conversation with technology and especially the film industry and a lot of the smart things that are going on. It's very relevant, and I think the topic is it's talked about, but we don't really identify the dangers and stuff like that just in clear words. But a lot of really cool documentaries have come out doing just that, and we know all of these famous films and movies and stuff like that who have talked about the topic of AI for a while and the underlying fears that we have with it. And I thought that was just really interesting, and that it'd be fun to compile a little group of little playlist of stuff together that would fit into that. So that's why I chose AI and yada, yada, yada. And I can link this in the description of the video too, so people can read all of these cool quotes that I've used and stuff. So the first film that I chose was a documentary that actually screened with the South Arts Southern Circuit Tour this semester. It's called Coded Bias, and this one is about the use of AI in like police face scanning technology, and it also goes to China and how they use AI and facial scanning to like as a form of payment and things like that. And it's just a very realistic kind of take on how deep rooted AI actually is in our society. And the big focus on this doc is how artificial intelligence kind of tends to be racist. And they dive deep into that, and they really dig it apart and kind of try to find out why and in what specific aspects that it does tend to be racist in. And it's very interesting. And I think that it's a good starting point to see the actual reality of AI and where it's taking us and what kind of like wrenches that it's throwing at us right now before we get into the fantasy films and the cool like reimaginations of what AI could become, which are definitely in there too. The next documentary, and this is the last documentary, is The Social Dilemma, because I think this one has been so big this year, and I couldn't make this playlist without putting in this documentary because it's not necessarily as heavy on AI like as a sci-fi or like a fear kind of thing. It's just how advertisements and social media uses artificial intelligence to keep you hooked on your phone, which is, I mean, it's still scary, yeah, but it's a little bit more like down to earth, and it's a very close to home hitting kind of discussion about artificial intelligence because it goes so deep in advertising, and all of social media's algorithms are based on artificial intelligence. And if you think that your phone doesn't know every little thing about you and Instagram knows exactly what to show you, I mean, that's how deep in our society it is. And I think that the conversation is definitely very open still, and there's a lot more to come on documentaries with AI. So going into the fantasy area of AI, we start out with 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is directed by Stanley Kubrick. He is one of the most notorious directors and like most well-known directors in the film industry. This was one of the first little like occurrences with AI in film, which is why I chose it first, because this came from 1968, and it's one of the most famous AI bots, which is the HAL 9000. And we still see little pictures of him and the little red dot and stuff today. And I thought that it was definitely needed to be included because this film is just one of the pioneers for the discussion of fear based off of AI in our film society. So after that, I chose another classic. Thank you, Dr. Wessels, for recommending this to me. But Ex Machina is an extremely, it's like such a thriller, and it's heart wrenching, and it gives a sense of personality to AI. And it's still a sci-fi, but it's definitely something that I think we could see happening in the future. And that's what makes this film so good, is because it's got so much emotion and feelings in it, even if it is dealing with a bot or an AI bot. And Ava is just like you're rooting for like them, Ava and Caleb the whole time, and then just the twists in it. And I think it's a very it's a thriller, but it's still very like down realistic and down to earth of something that could maybe even happen like in the future. And I think that this is kind of what's fueled a lot of this playlist for me. And then the last one, pretty sure, yes, it's the last one, is my all-time favorite, all-time classic. Keanu Reeves cannot be beat, The Matrix. And I just put the first movie in here, but all of them, of course, are very topical to this discussion. And The Matrix is just a classic. I think it's one of the cyberpunk movies that definitely sparked the mass coverage of artificial intelligence in film, and it just really pioneered the way for a lot of sci-fi cyberpunk films like this. But I really like The Matrix, and it's a cult classic, so I knew I would have to add this. This is probably one that most people will be familiar with around the discussion of artificial intelligence, and like this is like the most extreme form of artificial intelligence with the like we're living in a simulation. And I just thought that was very cool because there's so many different directions that directors take AI within their films. And I think the different little representations by each director is very telling of the different fears that are actually happening in people's heads and stuff that we could see happening. And all of these movies I've added are very accessible, and you could find them one place or another pretty easily. I tried to not pick any out there films. And then I'm going to leave you with this quote because I really liked it and I really like Elon Musk. It says, "I'm increasingly inclined to think that there should be some regulatory oversight, maybe at the national and international level, just to make sure that we don't do something very foolish. I mean, with artificial intelligence, we're summoning the demon." And I thought, that could not be any better put. And then, of course, the background is HAL 9000. So, yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in class.